Do you know what doctor you want a video chat with? Well, let's find out. How's it going, everybody? I'm Joey Giangola with Giangola Insurance, and today we're talking about Teladoc versus American Well and how their doctor's experience stacks up to one another. So first, let's start with Teladoc. As I already explained before, I did 2 visits with each company, one on the desktop, one in the mobile app, just to kind of see how both platforms worked. Once I did connect with that doctor, I was very upfront. I said, hey doc, listen, I'm just kind of trying this service out. Our company's thinking about, bringing you guys on and offering your products and services to, the people that we know. And I told him, he was very understanding, very nice, and walked me through the, what he normally does and explained the whole process to me. He was even actually kind enough to, I guess you could say, role play with me a little bit. It's kind of weird, but, walk through some fake symptoms and, pretend to do his doctor thing for me. That was fun. So that was, pretty seamless. On the desktop, it was about a 10 or 15 minute visit, I guess, that we kind of went through, me just asking him some questions and him pretending to be a doctor. He is a doctor, but pretending to be a doctor for something that I didn't have. And then I went ahead and booked another, appointment, if you will, on the Teladoc app. This was about a week or 2 later, and I actually got the same doctor that I had on my desktop, which is a little strange. I was hoping to get a different doctor to kind of, compare, the different type of doctor quality, if you will, to see, the different doctors. That'll come, with more, testing as I kind of work my way through this platform. But he didn't remember me right away, I don't think. If he did, he was being nice, and he was just like, oh man, this guy's back again. I did say, hey, listen, I think we talked before. Remember, I said, my company's just trying this thing out. And he's like, oh yeah, thanks, that's nice, cool, okay. But actually, I did have a cold when I called back, which was good. So I was like, hey, I do have a cold. If you want to go through your whole, thing, for real this time, we can do this. And then he asked me, the questions about the cold, how long, when did it start, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of launched right into prescribing me, Flonase and ZyrTEC. He said, here, take this nasal spray and this medication. This will help. And I was like, if I don't need it, if it's just like, I was like, okay. I think that's just kind of a standard doctor thing, as we'll see. But I did have a little bit better experience with one of my American Well visits as well. So now moving over to American Well, they did have the benefit of having me be sick both of the times that I actually called versus Teladoc, me being only fake sick one time and real sick another time. But this time I started out on my phone. I started with the mobile app. So again, like I showed you before, there was a list of most of them were yellow and one of them was green. I went with the guy that was green, and I went through that whole process of giving them my, what am I them for, a little bit of my health history, my weight, whatever I could fill in. And the one thing though that was a little annoying, by the time I got done doing that, they told me that that doctor was already somebody now. So that was kind of weird. I guess somebody must have already jumped into that information process a second or 2 before me. I ended up having to wait like 5 minutes for that doctor to come onto the line. I mean, again, if we're actually talking in real world doctor's office terms, 5 minutes is like ridiculously lightning fast in comparison to actually seeing the doctor. I mean, there's probably not words in the English language to communicate seeing a doctor in 5 minutes in real life. I don't think it exists because I don't know if it's ever happened. But anyways, so that was, again, 5 minutes, it's not terrible at all. I'm not nitpicking, I'm not complaining. Just saying that that's the time frame in which I actually waited. So this doctor was a little less friendly than my Teladoc. Again, they went through the normal doctor cold questions of all that, normal song and dance. And she told me, surprise, surprise, I have a cold. Refreshingly enough, though, she said there's not a whole lot that she can do to treat the cold, and that it could last for, 10 to 14 days. She said if I did want to try and shorten the illness, that I could, take a combination of supplements that include vitamin C, zinc, and echinacea, which I definitely was more comfortable with given, my personal taste for healthcare, if you will, than, just kind of rolling off prescriptions. Now, like I said, this doctor was kind of a little less friendly, and it felt like she was reading from like a doctor cue card. Like I swear somebody was standing behind the camera just giving her like this thing to say. It was a little rigid and stiff. Again, probably more the doctor than I would say a representation of American Well. So a little bit later in that same day, to take full advantage and get the most mileage out of this cold that I had, I went ahead and scheduled another visit with American Well as well. And this time I made a point to pick, obviously, a different doctor because I do have the ability. So I wanted to, kind of compare doctors. And I went with, again, somebody that was available right away. Their thing was green. Went through that whole thing again. as far as providing that information. And then this time I was immediately placed in that call with the doctor, which again was pretty crazy and remarkable. So again, it's very responsive, and you're talking to somebody very quickly. This time, again, I did preface the conversation again with that other American Well doctor that I was just trying the service out. This time though, this doctor launched into their doctor spiel too quickly, and I couldn't say like exactly what I was attempting to do here. I was just trying it out. I did have a code for them to kind of go through, so I just rolled with it. I was like, all right, doc, well, I'll let you kind of take hold of this thing, and I won't kind of disclose that information up front, I guess. But again, after going through the normal doctor cold questions again, she launched into the same kind of treatment suggestion as the Teladoc of saying, hey, you need a nasal spray and you need a oral medication. So not having really pushed the Teladoc for anything differently, mainly because I felt like I was wasting the guy's time because I'd already talked to him twice, so I felt bad. I didn't really want to haggle with him as far as treatments. I did want to try and kind of put this doc through her paces and see exactly what she would do if I requested some alternative options for treatment. So I was very surprised that she seemed almost excited when I said like, hey, do I need to do this? Is there anything maybe more natural, healthy I could do? And was very receptive to the conversation. Offered 3 or 4 different kind of more, I guess, natural solutions as opposed to popping a pill and shooting some nasal spray up my nose. And at this point, kind of after we had started that conversation, I said, hey, well, the reason I'm kind of going through this is our company's considering working with you and blah blah blah, and they let me try you out. And that actually led us to kind of slipping onto a little bit of a soapbox conversation, talking about how most patients that she sees kind of come to her and basically give her a diagnosis even before she's able to talk, and say they want their their prescription medication that they know they need and that is going to work for them. Kind of weird. So what's the bottom line? Even though it's a pretty small sample size, each company has substantially exceeded my expectations. As I said before, I really thought I was going to be waiting for several minutes, 15, 20 minutes to these doctors, and that was not the case at all. And I thought I would be kind of shuffled through the ranks too with these doctors as well, which was also not the case. It might still happen, I don't know, but so far I have not experienced that, and that's what I was really looking for. I'm really glad that's not the case. So I mean, at the end of the day, it seems like your mileage is going to vary based on the doctor, the time of day that you're having the service, and really just it doesn't seem like that there's much difference overall. You're going to get kind of the same result from both platforms. It's really going to come down to the thing that it comes down to with everything, and that's price. While American Well's kind of option to select your doctor is going to give you the best option to get the most mileage out of your kind of usage of that platform, again, Teladoc's substantially lower monthly rate provides you with very little, actually zero risk to book as many different kind of follow-ups, second opinions, third opinions as you. Ultimately, like I mentioned before, if you're looking for more healthcare at a lower cost, then Teladoc is kind of your option. If you want to not have to worry about asking a doctor a question, then Teladoc is really going to be it. Whereas American Well is going to still play in the same psychology with everything, that you're paying up front for something and that you're going to make sure that you need to do it before you do it. So I don't know if that's the healthiest thing for us as a country overall. I don't know. But I do know that both experiences so far have again, like I said, exceeded anything that I thought. So what's the next step? Well, if you want to actually see this thing live in action and not take my word for what it looks like to book an appointment and things like that, click right here on my face and we'll get started and actually go behind the office door and see what one of these visits look like. So go ahead, click right here on my face to do that, and let's get started. So, but of course, as always, I do appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video. I am Joey Giangola with Giangola Insurance. Take it easy, everybody.